single year because she's in foster care because her father abused her. And her mother?
Free 866-341-1425.
Hola Florida! Introducing Boricua Beer and Taino Light Beer. Boricua and Taino Light are crafted beers that are rich in flavors and brewed right here in Florida. Taino beer has a crisp, refreshing Caribbean flavor style when enjoyed chilled. Boricua beer is a craft ale with full body flavor that is a beer drinker's beer. Boricua and Taino Light Beers. Enjoy responsibly.
I am for the child who's had 7 addresses in a single year because she's in foster care because her father abused her. And her mother? Her mother couldn't believe her. She is the child I am for. I am a volunteer child advocate. I am you.
Florida residents call toll-free 866-341-1425.
Esto es amor de verdad, nadie lo puede dudar.
Step up to craft beer. Taino Light Lager has a crisp, refreshing Caribbean-style flavor. Boricua Beer Craft Ale, full-body flavor for the true beer drinker. Stop drinking beer water. Taino Craft Light Lager and Boricua Strong Craft Ale. Feel the rhythm. Step
Tap rooms are localized and they're geographic. The Hispanic community is much broader than one tap room. So what we decided to do was come out with a high-quality craft beer, 2 high-quality craft beers that appeal to the Hispanic taste and that we can distribute in all the Hispanic neighborhoods. Taino is a very light, refreshing beer. It's a social beer that you can drink probably for a good part of the evening and it'll give you a nice light feeling. It's not a heavy beer, it's very airy and it's very light. It's a 4.5 alcohol, which is low for beer. The Boricua is a 6.0. Now that's a stronger beer, and we designed it to be a little bit stronger than Heineken. Heineken is a favorite in the Hispanic community, so we have a little bit more muscle than Heineken. Boricua right now, in a very short amount of time, it's been a miracle for us because we've gotten a large range of acceptance at the retail level. We're in Publix, we're in ABC, Target is picking it up, we're in Sedano's, we're in Bravo's, 7-Elevens are picking it up because they're concentrating more on craft beer and the Hispanic market. So what we're trying to do is do a quality beer, a high quality beer, more taste, and that the Hispanic community will like.
Over the next few weeks, the House and Senate will be voting on an immigration reform package. In recent months, my administration has met extensively with both Democrats and Republicans to craft a bipartisan approach to immigration reform. Based on these discussions, we presented Congress with a detailed proposal that should be supported by both parties as a fair compromise, one where nobody gets everything they want, but where our country gets the critical reforms it needs and must have. Here are the 4 pillars of our plan. The first pillar of our framework generously offers a path to citizenship for 1.8 million illegal immigrants who were brought here by their parents at a young age. That covers almost 3 times more people than the previous administration covered. Under our plan, those who meet education and work requirements and show good moral character will be able to become full citizens of the United States over a 12-year period. The second pillar fully secures the border. That means building a great wall on the southern border, and it means hiring more heroes like CJ to keep our communities safe. Crucially, our plan closes the terrible loopholes exploited by criminals and terrorists to enter our country, and it finally ends the horrible and dangerous practice of catch and release. The third pillar ends the visa lottery, a program that randomly hands out green cards without any regard for skill, merit, or the safety of American people. It's time to begin moving toward a merit-based immigration system, one that admits people who are skilled, who want to work, who will contribute to our society, and who will love and respect our country. The fourth and final pillar protects the nuclear family by ending chain migration. Under the current broken system, a single immigrant can bring in virtually unlimited numbers of distant relatives. Under our plan, we focus on the immediate family by limiting sponsorships to spouses and minor children. This vital reform is necessary not just for our economy, but for our security and for the future of America. In recent weeks, 2 terrorist attacks in New York were made possible by the visa lottery and chain migration. In the age of terrorism, these programs present risks we can just no longer afford. It's time to reform. These outdated immigration rules and finally bring our immigration system into the 21st century. These 4 pillars represent a down-the-middle compromise and one that will create a safe, modern, and lawful immigration system. For over 30 years, Washington has tried and failed to solve this problem. This Congress can be the one that finally makes it happen. Most importantly, these 4 pillars will produce legislation that fulfills my ironclad pledge to sign a bill that puts America first.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I rise to speak about the Security Fence Act. The bill before us will certainly do some good. It will authorize some badly needed funding for better fences and better security along our borders, and that should help stem some of the tide of illegal immigration in this country. But if we think that putting up a few more miles of fence is by any means the whole answer to our immigration problems, then I believe we're seriously kidding ourselves. This bill, from my perspective, is an election year political solution to a real policy challenge that goes far beyond November. It's great for sound bites and ad campaigns, but as an answer to the problem of illegal immigration, it's unfinished at best. Yes, we need tougher border security and stronger enforcement measures. Yes, we need more resources for customs and border agents and more detention beds. Democrats and Republicans in both the House and the Senate agree on these points. But immigrants sneaking in through unguarded holes in our border is only part of the problem. As a host of former Bush immigration officials and members of Congress said in today's Washington Post, we must, and I quote, acknowledge that as much as half of the illegal immigration problem is driven by the hiring of people who enter the United States through official border points but use fraudulent documents or overstay visas, unquote. This serves as a reminder that for the last 15 years, our immigration strategy has consisted of throwing more money at the border. We've tripled the size of the Border Patrol. We've strengthened fences. But even as investments in border security grew, the size of the undocumented population grew as well. And so we need to approach the immigration challenge from a different perspective. This is why, for months, Democrats and Republicans have been working together to pass a comprehensive immigration bill out of this Congress, because we know that in addition to greater border security, we also need greater sanctions on employers who hire people in this country illegally. We need to make it easier for those employers to identify who is legally eligible to work and who is not. And we need to figure out how we plan to deal with the 12 million undocumented immigrants who are already here, many of whom have woven themselves into the fabric of our communities, many of whom have children who are United States citizens, many of whom employers depend on. Until we do, no one should be able to look a voter in the face and honestly tell them that we've solved our immigration problem. A model for compromise on this issue is in the Senate bill that was passed out of this chamber. In the new electronic employment verification system section of that bill that I helped write with Senator Grassley and Senator Kennedy, we agreed to postpone the new guest worker program until 2 years of funding is made available for improved workplace enforcement. We could extend that framework and work together to first ensure that money is in place to strengthen enforcement at the border and then allow the new guest worker program to kick in. We could do all of that in one bill, but we're not. And so, while this bill will probably pass, it should be seen only as one step in the much greater challenge of reforming our immigration system. Meeting that challenge will require passing measures to discourage people from overstaying their visas in the country and to help employers check the legal status of the workers applying for jobs. You know, it seems it was just yesterday that we were having celebratory press conferences and the President and the Senate leadership were promising to pass a bill that would secure our borders and take a tough but realistic approach to the undocumented immigrants who are already here. Today, that promise looks empty, and that cooperation seems like a thing of the past. But we owe it to the American people to finish the job we're starting here today. And we owe it to all those immigrants who've come to this country with nothing more than a willingness to work and a hope for a better life. Like so many of our own parents and grandparents, they've shown the courage to leave their homes and seek out a new destiny of their own making. The least we can do is show the courage to help them make that destiny a reality in a way that is safe, legal, and achievable. So when we actually start debating this bill, I hope the majority leader will permit consideration of a wide range of amendments. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd ask that we enter a quorum call.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka.
All Americans not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more, by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens. In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace as recommended by the commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.
Tap rooms are localized and they're geographic. The Hispanic community is much broader than one tap room. So what we decided to do was come out with a high-quality craft beer, 2 high-quality craft beers that appeal to the Hispanic taste and that we can distribute in all the Hispanic neighborhoods. Taino is a very light, refreshing beer. It's a social beer that you can drink probably for a good part of the evening, and it'll give you a nice light feeling. It's not a heavy beer, it's very airy, and it's very light. It's a 4.5 alcohol, which is low for beer. The Boricua is a 6.0. Now that's a stronger beer, and we designed it to be a little bit stronger than Heineken. Heineken is a favorite in the Hispanic community, so we have a little bit more muscle than Heineken. Boricua right now, in a very short amount of time, it's been a miracle for us because we've gotten a large range of acceptance at the retail level. We're in Publix, we're in ABC, Target is picking it up, we're in Sedano's, we're in Bravo's, 7-Elevens are picking it up because they're concentrating more on craft beer and the Hispanic market. So what we're trying to do is do a quality beer, a high quality beer, more taste, and that the Hispanic community will like. Hi, I'm Danny Ramos and welcome to this week's edition of Hispanic Speak Out. And it's going to be a rather unusual production, a 30-minute video of how the United States could possibly be attacked and be possibly destroyed. This is a scenario only, but it has a lot of fact and a lot of truth to it. You be the judge.
(12:18 p.m. Friday, February 26, 1993. A massive explosion occurs in the public parking garage on one of the tallest buildings in the planet, the World Trade Center in New York City. The bombing shocked America, which had seemed immune from attacks of terrorism that has plagued other parts of the world. Analysts say that this bombing opened the gates to what would later become the largest and best organized plot in American and world history. Who were the masterminds of the 1993 bombings? Did the FBI respond quickly enough? The motives, the ramifications, and the ripple effect. 16 years ago, at about 17 minutes past noon, a thunderous explosion rocked lower Manhattan. The epicenter was the parking garage beneath the World Trade Center, where a massive eruption carved out a nearly 100-foot crater, several stories deep and several more high. 6 people were killed almost instantly. Smoke and flames began filling the wound and streaming upward into the building. Those who were entrapped were soon pouring out of the building. Many were panic-stricken and covered.
It's going to be a beautiful day today. Sunshine throughout. Low humidity. Really a splendid September day. The afternoon temperature about 80 degrees. Great weather for the primary election. Tonight, clear and cool, low 60.
American Boston.
Please listen very carefully. This is Amy Sweeney
me on flight 11. We've been hijacked. 2 attendants have been stabbed.
Okay, do you have any idea where you're headed?
No. People in coach think it's a routine emergency. We've asked for a doctor, but none's on board.
Can you tell us anything more about the hijackers?
Yes, they have knives and mace. They say they have a bomb.
Okay, how are the people who were stabbed?
One flight attendant's okay. I'm not sure. The other may not make it. Oh my God, something's wrong here!
What's happening? Amy, are you still there?
We're in rapid descent. We're all over the place.
Can you look out the window and tell us where you are?
I see water, buildings. We're flying low. We're flying very, very low. We're flying way too low. Oh my God,
Meanwhile, confirming today that just 2 days after steering $400 million in cash to Iran in a covert payment timed to coincide with the release of American hostages, President Obama and his administration paid the Islamic Republic 3 times that amount, another $1.3 billion in interest, wiring that money directly to Iran in 3 payments. The payments trace back to the 1970s and money Iran gave the U.S. for military equipment before the hostage crisis of that era erupted. And the U.S. responded back then by freezing Iran's assets. There is much more to this story, and for that we go to Chief Washington Correspondent James.
Iran plans to buy more than 100 aircraft from the French aircraft maker Airbus, and it has gained momentum as Iran's president is set to visit Paris. Iran Air Chairman and Managing Director Farhad Parvaresh said that the deal to buy 114 Airbus Group SE jets will be signed during Rouhani's trip. Parvaresh said that the purchase may include double-decker A380 Super Jumbo jet and A320 aircraft. Iran's Minister of Roads and Urban Development Abbas Akhondi also said that the first of the 114 aircraft are expected to be delivered before March 21. Iran is seeking to renovate its aging aviation fleet following
announced a blockbuster deal to sell 80 commercial airplanes to Iran for nearly $17 billion. It's being touted as the biggest deal with Iran since the revolution there in 1979, only made possible by the Iran nuclear deal signed by President Obama last year. Well, the president-elect has denounced the Iran nuclear plan in the past and has yet to comment on this new Boeing deal, instead taking a second swipe at Boeing's contract for Air Force One on Fox News Sunday. More on the Boeing deal with Iran. Let's go to NBC's Ali Arouzi in Tehran. Ali, what are you hearing as it relates to this deal and this president-elect in some of his language?
Well, Tamron, the deal is very significant. It's a massive deal, as you mentioned. 80 planes to be sold to Iran over the next 10 years for almost $17 billion. And it marks the biggest commercial deal between the United States and Iran since the 1979 revolution and the storming of the U.S. Embassy. Now, until recently, the government in Iran had been complaining that they hadn't seen any tangible results from the nuclear deal. Well, it's that nuclear deal that's enabled them to buy all of these planes from Boeing, which they really needed.
And it's a really important milestone that North Korea has passed, and initially it looked like it was only coming from the Defense Intelligence Agency, and their job is to look at adversary capabilities, and in the past they've been criticized for being a little too generous in terms of ascribing capabilities to adversaries, so there was some concern among outside observers. But as you know, you and I have now gotten some new reporting to suggest that it's not only the DIA, it's the CIA and the ODNI and other agencies that share this assessment that North Korea has reached this critical milestone. They're able to miniaturize a weapon to put on an ICBM, Andrea.
America!
We're about to show you a map that shows passenger planes flying into secondary western cities. And then those same passenger planes will go into primary U.S. cities. Those passenger planes potentially could be carrying miniaturized nukes that were purchased or gotten from North Korea and then flown into the United States all on one day, hitting 10 major cities with miniature nuclear bombs.
And all of this unfolding in one of the busiest places in the world, in downtown Manhattan.
Oh my God.
This is a potential scenario. They have used passenger planes in the past to attack the United States. This scenario is a follow-up scenario, just like the follow-up scenario on the World Trade Center from 1993 that landed up in 2011, a second attack. The scenario is the same. It's just using the same devices, but more of them. Make no mistake, this is a real possibility.
I am for the child who's had 7 addresses in a single year because she's in foster care, because her father abused her. And her mother couldn't believe her. She is the child I am for. I am a volunteer child advocate. I am you.
Florida residents call toll-free 866-341-1425.
Esto es amor de verdad, nadie lo puede dudar.
Step up to craft beer. Dino Light Lager has a crisp, refreshing Caribbean-style flavor. Boricua Beer Craft Ale, full-body flavor for the true beer drinker. Stop drinking beer water. Dino Craft Light Lager and Boricua Strong Craft Ale. Feel the rhythm. Step